Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards and welcome back to December Daily for 2022. It is story number 2 today, so I am coming at you with a few different ideas. Just a review from yesterday, I showed you a couple variations on an idea of writing a letter to yourself. I ended up doing it on vellum. You could easily just do it on top of the pattern paper. And then we're moving into day 2. So what I had for day 2 already was a large stamped page. This actually came from our prep day this year. This was one of the challenges for the hour, was to pick a quote or a Christmas lyric or something along those lines and stamp it all out. So I have that already done. That's going to be one page for my second story. And then I have a full page photo of the outside of our house. This is something that happened before December, but a story that I would like to start with earlier in the album, of having our Christmas lights put up by someone else this year. And that was something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. This needs to be trimmed down a little bit. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I ran through my Epson 15,000 printer. Need to just trim a little bit off the edges before it gets added down here to the page. Tomorrow is the third story and I have a full foundation page ready for that, so I'll be adding photos and journaling, but I'll be able to actually probably adhere my photo to this back page. This is also part of story 3 that's coming tomorrow. So one of the things, a couple more things. I have a couple other elements that I've already picked out. I'm thinking that I'm going to use this guy here. This was one of the die cut pages that we offered this year. And then I also took one of the 3x8 journal cards and I printed that out on my computer, and I'm going to put that on the back. So this is going to be my journaling that actually talks about getting the lights on the house. I'm printing on Epson, I think it's like premium or extra premium matte presentation paper. I'll link that for you guys below. It's my favorite one for printing out digital elements. And if you've been around for a long time, I used to use Epson matte presentation paper. There are different weights to it. So I've found one that is a little bit thicker, a little more sturdy, and I really, really like this one. So I'll link that one for you guys below. But what I'm thinking about doing on the front, so this is going to obviously be backed by this. So I kind of forgot about that aspect of it with this vellum, which is what I was going to put inside here. So I might end up adding a different vellum or a different pattern paper, and then maybe I'll add a second photo here. I'm going to be cutting that out. The other thing that I want to do, something that I've been really inspired by this year, and when I edit this video I'm going to put some images up so you can see what I'm talking about. There's some artists that do a ton of hand stitching on photos, and that is their art form. And I've been collecting a bunch of those images via Pinterest as inspiration for diving into my project this year. And so I'm kind of excited to try that on this particular image here. I did a practice one on one of my pages from yesterday on the vellum. I'm gonna go with something really simple. I just actually started doing some embroidery. I'm like doing my first one, you know, with the hoop and everything. And it's a nice, I like that it's something that I can do like when we're watching TV or sitting around, or I'm listening to the kids or doing something like that rather than scrolling on my phone. And so I'm learning some of the stitches and just kind of getting into that. But for this page and this project specifically, I'm just going to do something really simple. You'll see in some of the examples that I have, like these artists are doing, you know, like circles on top, and they're pulling out all the colors, or they'll do the whole sky. There's lots of really cool different things that you could do, and I might try another one of these later this season. I also think that I've seen Amy Gretchen doing some stitching on her photos this year, or more stitching on her pages. I think that that's who I've seen that is heading in that direction, or is wanting to investigate that as well this year. So my plan, I've had a couple different ideas. One is that I would use like a collection of colors to make a star like this. This is essentially a center, has a center point, and then it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7. I probably want 8. I don't know. What I did here is I just simply like made my center dot, and then I did other points around. That's how I ended up with 7. And so I think that that's what I'm going to do on my photo. And I also think that I'm just going to go with red. I'm going to do like 3 3 that are different sizes to create a visual triangle here on my photo that are red. I might come over and maybe do one on here too to kind of links these pages together, and or maybe I'll do something that ends up being on this little spot there too. That might be something to do. I'm kind of thinking, you guys know how I like to think as I go. This could also be something that ends up being used on there too. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. This is, again, this is embroidery floss. Obviously, if this is like beyond what you're interested in doing, just take some of the ideas and run with whatever works for you. You may follow everything else similar in this way and not add stitching on your photo. Maybe you add additional embellishments that we offered or that you have in your stash. That's obviously a fantastic option. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually go ahead and do the stitching first. It may require that I reprint my photo, so we're gonna see what happens with that. That's part of the adventure here. And then we'll just kind of we're gonna see how it goes today. That's part of what we're doing. So a couple years ago, I bought a bag of embroidery floss from Amazon, and I use it every once in a while for my memory keeping projects. This was an easy way to just get a bunch of colors all at once. December Daily is probably the most often the time that I end up coming to this, but or you know, using this as a piece of my storytelling. But I love having it. I love having access to that. I'm also looking at my little Santa guy that I cut out yesterday. Maybe he would go in there, maybe without the gold, maybe the gold underneath. I don't know. This is when I start. I gotta just focus on what I need to do here first, and then I kind of love it. I love those little Santas. Okay, all right, so the way that I'm gonna start this, one of the things that I just learned, this is, you know, we are all learners, right? We are all lifelong learners around here, is that with embroidery floss, you can pull out the number of threads that maybe you want. And so this actually makes it go a little farther. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pull out 3 threads. I'm just loosening them up at the beginning, and then I hold my fingers here, my thumb and my pointer finger, and I'm just pulling up semi-gently there to pull 3 of these out, and then I'm going to use 3 altogether for my star there. And then usually I think these also have 6, these are 6 strand ones, 6 strands of floss, and so it will have, this other one that I have right here will just has 3 and will be ready to use as well. So what I need to figure out first is how am I going to make my, I want to make a little pattern for myself on top of the photo. So I'm gonna go ahead and I need to grab probably like a thin white pen that could just make a tiny little dot on there. Actually, even maybe my black pen would work. So you can see I brought those 3 threads together. I'm gonna lick them. I'm gonna find my needle here, and I'm gonna thread the needle. I might actually, sometimes what helps is to trim it too. Let's see if I can just do this. Talk you guys through this first one. This is the part that takes me the longest, and this is when I go, oh, I need to go have my eyes checked again. Okay, I think I got all 3 of them through there though. I did. Yes. Okay. Get them all lined back up. All right, and then I'm gonna just do a little knot down here at the end, at the back, so that it will stop before it goes through. You can also tape it. That's something that I do, tape it on the back of the photo. I'll probably end up doing that as well. That will help hold it in place. So like I said, I'm gonna do 3 of these on top of my photo, just 3 little stars. I wanna vary the size too. Like I wanna have maybe like a medium-sized one here, maybe a smaller one right here, and then a larger one on the bottom is kind of what I'm thinking. Let's see if I can see if I use this pen. I'm probably gonna need well, I can kind of see actually. Let's go ahead with that. Let's do like a medium-sized one. And this doesn't have to be perfect, right? This is part of the fun. And I'm doing, that one I ended up doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, but you could change it, you know, if you want it to be, you want to have more points on your star, you want to bring in other colors. I might end up investigating that, we'll see. So I've got the points on there. I'm gonna actually just punch through the middle first so that I can see where I'm getting it on the back. I'm gonna come up from the back then. And then I'm essentially just going out to each of the points here, and then I'm going to come back up through the middle to create the star. So there's one, and then just coming back to the middle again, or next to it or close to it, and then going out to the next one. And after you do this, then you can see, like, do I want to add in more colors? Do I want to add in more stars on along the edge? You know, those kinds of things too. And I'm not trying to make it perfect, as most of you guys know. This is not that's not my goal here. And yes, I'm touching the photo like that in and of that I'm fine with that. I think part of that for me too is printing at home, right? And knowing I can reprint it if I actually need to. But also, because I'm working outside the page protectors, lots of things are gonna get touched. And to me, when they are touched, that's part of like the joy, right? It means that someone is actually looking at it. Okay, so I'm looking at this right now. I definitely want more than that number of star points. So I think I'm gonna go in and add in on those. But I think I am just gonna keep it with the red. So now I don't have spots already poked there, but I'm gonna put them in between each one of these. And this will add in, make it a little extra. I needed to do one over there, I forgot. Ouch. That's why this is a pretty forgiving little design too, right? Like it's not, you know, this is an easy one to play around with versus it being something that's like really intricate or fancy. I love having the texture. I think that that's the thing that like makes me the most excited about it, is having a little bit more texture in the album itself, whether it's and you know, on top of the photo. That's, for me, that's the fun of bringing in that. Okay, so I like that. That feels fun to me. So I'm gonna do 2 more of those on here. Maybe one will be a little bit bigger, maybe one will be a little bit smaller, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing that, and I'll put a little music on here so you can see it as it evolves. All right, before I dive into the rest of the stitching, I did pull this over to my trimmer and I am trimming off the extra. Again, this was printed on an 8.5 by 11. One of the things I wanted you to see in this too is that this was a good time or a good reminder to me to turn over that tab or to adjust it a little bit so that we'll cut even better. So if your printer is cutting dull, you might want to adjust that pad there, and you can actually reorder those if you use the same trimmer as I do here. And let's keep stitching. All right, so after I wrapped up the stitching and taped the rest of those pieces down, I am cutting out the journaling that I did using one of the 3x8 journal cards. I used the digital version because I wanted to have the holes on the other side, and I'll be backing that with the die cut insert there. I pulled out all the papers that I have cut up, or the papers from this year that were a combination of either from the main kit, from the add-on pattern paper collection, or the specialty paper collection. And I'm just kind of trying to decide, what do I want to have behind these windows? Now, you may have additional photos that you want to put in there. That sounds awesome. You might have additional journaling that you wanted to add in there. In my case, what I wrote all I needed to say really on the journaling on the other side. So I was looking at this as an opportunity to play a little bit. And so I'm just going through all kinds of combinations, as you can see here, kind of trying to think about what were the colors that I wanted to focus on, what were the embellishments. I knew that I wanted to use that chipboard number 2. I also knew that I wanted to have either the puffy Santa or one of the layered Santas that is in the main kit, and you'll see me go back and forth with those a little bit. In the end here, I land on the red with the gold foil and the black with the white. They both are kind of like mimicking that similar star shape as I have on my on the photos themselves. So I'm going to go ahead right now. I'm trimming down a little bit my journaling card on the other side, and then I temporarily adhered it just for a minute too, just so that I would be able to have it in a better place. You also might have seen really quick there, I grabbed some pom-pom ribbon. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. So what I'm doing right now is starting to cut the pattern paper that's going to go inside. I am layering the red pattern paper with the white vellum on top, and then there is that pom-pom trim, which I will link for you guys below. That's part of a combo pack that I got on Amazon too that I'm using. It's a fun thing to add in. And then I've got the black there with the, I think I end up with some of the that gold transparency on top, which I've used in a variety of different places throughout my album that you'll see later on as we continue on through the month itself. So still kind of going back and forth, still looking at the circles, trying to decide what I wanted to do. And as I was doing that, I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I just need to make my own circle for the bottom that says the story of lights, which is what you're going to see I end up doing. I love the joy with the Santa on top, though. That was a fun idea that could easily be used. So I made a circle that says the story of the lights. You can cut it out. I've got it available for you as a download. I ran it through the Mink machine, so it'll have a little bit of extra gold foil on it, but I think it looks great if it's just black. Also, it's basically kind of an intro into this page, right, and linking a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead. I've kind of laid out what I think that I want to have, so I'm going through and I'm going to actually begin the construction part, layering the transparency and the vellum down first, then with the pattern paper on top. I'm using rolling adhesive from scrapbook.com that I've been using, I think, probably for the last year now, and I really like it. I highly recommend it if you like rolling adhesive. It's been a really good adhesive for me, and so far so good on that one. Another thing that I did decide that I wanted to do was add some additional little stitching elements, at least one next to the Santa, and then I'm going to do one next to the number 2. I like how that links the red that I did on the photo itself. And as I'm looking right here, right now, and as I'm talking to you guys, I'm seeing that I think maybe I want one more on the main photo there. I'm like looking at that star going, I feel like it needs a little one more ray off of the star, but same kind of a little bit of a shape there, just doing a small little one. I think it turned out really cute. Again, I love having the texture. I could have 100% not done that through 4 layers of stuff there. I could have just done it with the circle that I punched out, but that's how we roll. Next, I'm going to take out some nice and thin red line tape. This is, I think, 1/4 inch red line tape. I'm going to put it along the edge of my journaling card there, and this is how I am going to adhere down the pom-pom trim. I'm actually going to end up putting another piece of red line tape on top of that will then adhere directly to that that die cut insert. So you can see how that's laid down on there. I am going to put the number 2 in there first. I just wanted to see a couple other things. That's the big wood number 2 from the numbers. There was an add-on this year with that. Just, I'm always, there's a little bit of second guessing that's going on, but it's really more of a, what would this look like? It's more of a curiosity, right? It's less about, oh, am I picking the right thing? And more about just being curious. Oh, maybe this would be fun. Maybe this would be a fun little add-on. One other thing I really wanted to note too is that I'm working on this particular entry on a day when I have time, meaning I have time to play around. I have time to change my mind. I have time to hand stitch on here. I won't have this much time for every story that I'm doing this month, but this is one of the days when I have a little bit more time and I'm taking advantage of it, and feeling really happy and excited that I'm getting to play on here. So definitely loved adding in the additional little bit of stitching here on the top of the number 2. And then I'm going to adhere that whole thing onto the journaling, onto the 3x8 journaling, and then trim off a little bit there too. I definitely like having this thinner red line tape. I had run out of that and was happy to have that back in my stash, because there's lots of times when the thinness of that particular red line tape comes in really handy. I'll also be trimming off along the edges. The X-Acto knife works the best for me for that task, and then trim off a little bit on the end there. The We Are Memory Keepers hole punch worked best for me in this one. The 6-hole punch was just a little bit too, the papers were a little bit too thick on the bottom. Love how that turned out. Loved adding that in there. I also did grab one of the tab stickers that I am slipping into the top. I think it says happy is what it says on there. So tab stickers are great along the outside edge too. If you don't want to play with any extra trim, that can be a great option for that. After I finished up that insert, I am going ahead and I am adhering my full page of stamping to the back of my page yesterday, to my day 1 page. And I used the 6-hole punch to punch holes in there. Again, that was something that I did during the prep day. And then I'm going to adhere my photo to tomorrow's page, which is the foundation page that I put together for our product play workshop this year. And I'll be finishing that off as my story tomorrow, which will be mainly adding my photos and words for that particular one. Adding that back into my album, again, using an X-Acto knife. So sometimes I use my trimmer and sometimes I use my X-Acto knife. It just kind of depends on how I feel in the moment, I think. But I love how this one turned out. I really, really love the stitching. I'm totally with Amy. It's going to be hard to not want to stitch on every single page. And here one more time is me stamping, adding the title onto my table of contents. Love doing this at the end of the day or as I wrap up the project. As always, if you guys have questions, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you back here again soon.